All right, EA Ermor, turn 88. This is probably going to be a longer one. Yeah, it looks like we have most of the attacks, so that is a good sign. Niflheim, is pretty busy with a lot of things, and there is a magic phase attack here from Niflheim, although it looks like it is on top of the throne that we just took off of Russ. And of course, that will cancel our spoiling attack against, his sieging force on top of Russ's capital. So, in that sense alone, it's a good move by Niflheim. Otherwise, just bringing in some summons. We did do a bunch of site searching on top of this throne province, mostly because these mages had nothing else to do since there was no lab there. We weren't expecting to find any sites. We also finished research in Thaumaturgy, which is nice. This gives us Charm, which is a pretty useful spell that our Lars can cast. So probably not going to change the outcome of the war, but is a nice pickup. And then we can see that Jabalba has put up some global enchantment, but we do not know what, so we'll have to take a look at that later. And then let's take a look at some of these battles. So, right, these is going to be our raiding force, I think. Oh, no, okay, they moved out? Not sure. I would have thought that the magic phase attack would have intercepted our movement, but it looks like, yeah, it's just locking it down with some ghouls, and we didn't bother investing in province defense. I was definitely expecting this fort to get locked down. And didn't really feel, we don't have a ton of assets, so, couldn't really spare enough to guarantee that we're going to kill like a super combatant or a really heavily kitted thug. But yeah, this is nicely done by Niflheim. He's able to get away with that pretty cheaply, and yeah, we're going to have to definitely try to balance. We don't want him to be able to lock down too many of our forts with really cheap options like that. And then we have one of our raiding attacks. Right, this is on top of that Russian fort, and as I suspected, he moved out that sieging force of Great Eagles and the Thunder Queen, so obviously our raiders can take out one province defense. And the good news is that that raiding group is actually, I think, 2 or 3 different raiding groups, and they cannot be jumped on top of since they're, oh wait, no, that's not Niflheim's fort. That's an interesting wrinkle. So since Russ owns that fort, I think Niflheim can magic phase on top of us. So that's a bit unfortunate, so we'll see. We might lose this combined raiding group to some magic phase thugs. But if not, they'll split out and hopefully be harder to track down and destroy. And then let's see, we caught a battle between Niflheim and Therados. Perhaps this is going to be one of the Tartarians that I've been hearing about. Yep, it does. Oh, and a Telkine. So this is a fairly heavy investment, pretty heavy investment. A really heavy investment? Yeah, because I don't think that this is a normal Telkine. I think that this is one of Therados' heroes. Regardless, she's been fully kitted out, and there's even a few artifacts in here, 25 water gems for this alone. So yeah, I would say that this is a really heavy investment, and a pretty scary force. Let's take a look at some of these other Tartarians. Yeah, full kit on these Tartarians. I do like the Boots of Quickness, right, on the undead, because they do not suffer from melee encumbrance, and this is just helping to push the map move into ridiculous areas. I do think Boots of the Messenger are better, but, he may have just gotten these from a random event or something like that. Saving a little bit on gems by using their built-in enchanted sickle, which is decent enough and is magic damage. Has increased their magic resistance a fair amount, which I do think is kind of one of the weaknesses, of Tartarians. Not that 18 magic resistance is bad, but for this amount of investment, and because there are a decent number of spells that target undead that have to do with magic resistance, it's pretty important for Tartarians, I would say, and super combatants in general. And this guy also full kit, a ton of gems, of course, on all of these guys. In fact, this is actually Therados' Pretender, which, in the tradition of many pretenders, is lying with its name, although I suppose it is a bit of a beastie, and it can go underwater, but, not really like what the name suggests. So yeah, and this is proof that, Therados is definitely still alive and kicking, and honestly probably the number 2, I don't know, hard to say. Femoria seems fairly powerful as well. So, even though, yes, Niflheim is I think in the strongest position right now and most likely to win, there's still plenty of dangerous factions out there, and certainly if Therados turned their attention on us, we would be in trouble. Not sure what Niflheim was doing here. Maybe just trying to gem bait. We'll have to take a look and see if gems got used, or maybe just some Horde of Skeleton casting. So this might have just been a raiding party that happened to bump into this group. And it looks like there's a decent chance that she's going to get away, so that is nice for Niflheim. And it's good news that Therados does have some pretty pretty scary forces remaining. And then we have more of our rating. So let's take a look and see if Niflheim moves anything to intercept. No, just one province defense here. This is another combined group, right? 3 groups actually, so we're hoping to split this out right before it gets hit with like a remote attack spell or a thug jumps on top of it. So, you know, we'll see. We have limited avenues to raid, especially in the north, so like, yeah, we kind of just have to combine. But we are hoping to split out as soon as possible, and like, yeah, that works out fine for us. No surprise there. Then we have a raid in some cave. This, I think, is just, yeah, one of our fire elemental groups. And, you know, yeah, no province defense to speak of here. So, of course, that works out. Our augurs would never kill themselves and their bodyguards. They are way too disciplined for that. And then we have another battle, or another raid rather, probably a pretty similar force. Yeah, in this one we sort of just had an extra like human augur, couldn't afford a Twiceborn, so sure, he's going to provide a little bit of extra fire support. Pretty minimal PD, we should be able to handle that. Let's just double check. Yeah, we didn't kill ourselves, hooray. We've got terracotta soldiers with this group, so this is, you know, probably the peak of augur raiding. Although of course this does mean that, you know, this group has like extra gem expenditure in the form of those terracotta soldiers. So is it better than having gold-based bodyguards? Not sure yet. We're trying both, right? Here's some gold-based bodyguards, same kind of thing, and again, no province defense. So this is going really well for us, but again, this is going to slow down really quickly, or at least that is my expectation. Yeah, we didn't manage to kill off our own group, so that's good. We do get attacked here by Niflheim somewhere. This is in the north, I think, and is a scrawny thug that I missed, or maybe he was stealth. Then yeah, we don't really have any province defense here. Let's take a look at his kit. Yep, I would rate this as, you know, super dangerous. That said, the protection is relatively low, and, you know, he's only got 10% regeneration, so like killing him via normal means is probably our best bet, although a defense skill of 29 is going to be problematic, and of course he's going to be absolutely obliterating things that get close to him. But yeah, I would say that, you know, this thug is definitely killable, but certainly very dangerous. And of course, you know, he's going to be able to take out, yeah, just our couple of barbarian province defense, no problem. And then, yeah, we're continuing with our own raids. So I am glad that, like, yeah, Niflheim, probably should adjust this group. They're still set up to deal with flyers, and they're just up against some Bakemono, but that's fine. They'll be able to kill them without too much difficulty. Let's just verify. Ooh, yeah, actually lose more than I would have expected. Bakemono are dangerous, and, you know, in the cave, in the darkness, that is kind of rough. Wasn't expecting that level of attrition, but still definitely a viable raiding party, so we'll continue to do that. And then we've got another raid and some more caves. I think this is a different cave. Right, another more or less augur communion. And yeah, again, especially a lot of the cave provinces have cavemen, which are not, I mean, it depends, but generally I think caveman PD is not great value. And then let's see, this is no doubt another one of our raids. Oh no, this is our main army moving out. We were hoping to catch that scrawny thug, but weren't really expecting it. Not sure where that scrawny thug went. So yeah, we'll see. Like I said, this army definitely needs to recharge, so we may just, you know, send it along to our fort nearby. And it looks like possibly what Xibalba cast is, I think it's called Wrath of God. It's one that, oh, actually, you know what? I think that this is Purgatory. Yeah, so I think this is Niflheim's Purgatory, and we will have to be careful. We do have a decent amount of undead, so moving our undead into Niflheim's Dominion is going to be pretty dangerous. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and that's definitely something I forgot about, because we don't have a ton of undead, but enough that it's relevant. And then here's our spoiling attack in Russ. Unfortunately, we don't see a subsequent battle. Okay, interesting. Niflheim chose to move off. So I definitely hadn't anticipated that, and it looks like these guys are going to get to live at least one turn, or one more turn, and then we get attacked. I'm guessing this is where Niflheim's army went? No, this is where the Eagles and the Thunder Queen went. And we do actually... No, I forgot to patrol. Darn it. We have a Soul Slay Communion here with some penetration items. And, like, yeah, they maybe could have Soul Slayed. So it's a shame that we didn't have them patrolling. This fort is definitely going to get locked down, and it will be cracked. We'll see if Niflheim decides to storm. We do have a decent number of augurs in there, although, you know, we don't have a ton of chaff. We might be able to summon a bit of chaff, but yeah, like, Niflheim might actually struggle a bit to take this fort. You never know. Our PD might actually kill, like, one eagle. Yeah, there's one eagle dead. Yeah, it's a shame we didn't have our Soul Slay Communion, because we had enough province defense investment here that, like, they would have had a shot at soul slaying that elemental royalty, which would have been a big deal. So yeah, we do need to start patrolling our forts. I wasn't sure like how hard Niflheim was going to start raiding deeper into our territory, but it does look like, he's going to come after us, and we need to at least make that expensive for him. So yeah, don't know where Niflheim's army went. I incorrectly predicted his movements, which is never a good thing, but they are a good player, so, not that surprising. We have some people leaving. This is, I think, Blood Vortex. So there must be a Blood Vortex. It's a Blood Global that's up, and it just sucks population out of random provinces, and the person who owns it gets additional blood slaves. Not really much we can do about this. Sorry people, there are many things that are killing you. And then speaking of things that are killing people, unexpected events. Abyssians being unruly. This is not that surprising. Not to mention that there's like a stack of Vanheers in here. So yeah, unruliness levels of this province are high. We lose some gold, and then we lose some population due to a severe famine, as happens with some misfortune. And then, okay, so it looks like Niflheim moved on top of our fort immediately, and it has been cracked. So that's where their army went. And yeah, I like that move. I mean, I don't like that move in the sense that it's a good move, and now we're in trouble. But for Niflheim, it is definitely a good move, right? Because, again, he doesn't really need Russ, right? It would be nice to eliminate him completely and, get the gem income from the capital. But in terms of winning the game, thrones are more important. And it's not like Russ and I, there's like no love lost there. So, by releasing Russ, who does Russ attack? Does he attack Niflheim? Does he attack me? Does he attack both? I don't know. We'll see. But now, his army doesn't have to take another beating with whatever Russ is planning, and I have less time to prepare. So yeah, I would say that we're in pretty big trouble here. We'll see what we can pull together. Niflheim has not really had any time, to prepare either. So at least, they're at the low ebb of their strength in that location. And then we are on top of a lot of forts, pretty much none of which we're planning on taking. So I think this is an empty fort of Russ's near their capital where a bunch of our raiders are, and we can see that, like, yeah, if we hung out for a turn or two, we could probably take it. But, maybe there's some gems in there, but I think it'd be better to get our raiders out and moving. We may leave someone on top just to keep it connected. And then, ironically, now we're on top of Russ, but of course, they are building it up faster than we can break it down, because we were never planning on taking that. And I'm not sure where this is. Oh, right, this is where our eagles failed to take it. So this we are interested in taking, sort of, but, we'll see if we can get enough stuff there, collect our eagles. And then, of course, we know all about Abyssia, and so sadly, those 5 eagles we left behind aren't quite enough siege strength to keep the Vanheers down. So now, Vanheim knows that there isn't that much outside, and that may encourage them to come out, although, again, they did not come out this turn. And then, of course, we have a little bit of starvation from one of our larger, combined raiding groups. And, of course, always with the diseases, no burden of time anymore, but, it continues to have lingering effects. So, yeah, I'll catch you guys after the jump. All right, this is the situation and what we're doing about it. I have definitely messed up above and beyond what we've already discussed. So for the eagle-eyed among you, you can see that there's a bunch of Nifl giants down here on top of this throne. And, I have been worried about Niflheim's magic phase movement, but I was more thinking like maybe air-empowered Jarls or some of their other casters can teleport. So I was thinking of it, more as like an individual caster teleporting, and maybe we might have to worry about a super combatant taking this throne. Definitely completely forgot about astral travel, which is a spell that you can cast normally. So I am more familiar with and have used Gateway, which I think is at Thaumaturgy 5. So it comes up a lot more often in games. And with that spell, you can transport an army from one of your labs to another lab that you control. With astral travel, you're not restricted in terms of where you end up. So I'm assuming that's what happened here. It's not the only army movement spell. There's a nature one that'll take you to forests, and yeah, but he didn't end up in a forest, so not that one. There's also a death one, Stygian Paths, so possibly they used that. It's definitely a good amount of undead with this army, who I imagine Stygian Paths isn't totally safe. It might be a magic resistance check. You have the potential of losing, some of the units in the army. Anyway, regardless of how Niflheim did it, they have done it. And so, yeah, no doubt they're claiming this throne, and, very sad. This army is completely out of position. And of course, hindsight is 2020, but definitely should have just bit the bullet and gone after this throne. Like, right, this is really not doing a lot for us. I was thinking like we would have been able to most likely block like normal movement of that army, and also didn't want to completely give up all this territory. So for this army to kind of try to block the approach to this throne and and make sure that we don't lose a bunch of land, like it's not in a bad position. But if they're just going to astral travel behind you directly on top of the throne, it's in a pretty poor position. In my defense, there was a bunch of fire stuff on top of that throne and like liches, right, susceptible to fire. So, I wasn't thrilled. I mean, okay, we have put some fire resistance gear on some of them, but I wasn't super stoked about slamming this somewhat reduced army into that throne. And then, like, we probably would have just had to fight Niflheim with, our reduced army. Would it have really changed too much? Probably not, but like, hey, at least we would have given it a shot, had the battle. You never know. So that was definitely a mistake, right? If it's turn like 88, 89, you need to actually be in position because your opponent is most likely going to be magic phase movement-ing. There's not really a good phrase for that. They're going to be using magic phase movement to arrive exactly where they need to be and, not walking like 1 or 2 provinces at a time. So obviously, this is super bad. We don't want to completely abandon the defense of the throne, but we are moving like a decent amount of stuff down and trying to cast some more terracotta soldiers. And we'll link up with this army, and we'll throw some stuff at this. I'm sure Niflheim is going to magic phase a fort in. So, and also, in the chat, there was, if you will allow me to complain a little bit, Therados, I guess, is not really enjoying things and feels like Niflheim, is unstoppable and kind of wants to quit. And I mean, I don't know. They probably are not. I guess their scouting isn't as good. But I think I said, I was like, well, let's keep playing because I think Niflheim is about to get a throne win. And I actually think that if Niflheim doesn't get the throne win, they might be in trouble and the game is maybe a little more open than Therados thought. Hard to say, right? We don't have a lot of information on a lot of Niflheim's territory, but, they are getting rated somewhat heavily by the computer. If Xibalba was able to jump in as well, which it kind of sounds like, I think Xibalba has lost the will to play or the will to live in this game, which I totally understand. But also like Femoria is like a pretty strong power. Like between Femoria, myself, and Therados, I actually think Niflheim might struggle a bit because we're doing a lot better in the raiding war than I was expecting. And it seems like a lot of Niflheim's like core territory is relatively undefended. Probably because they're calculating perhaps correctly that they can just they don't need to win the war, right? They can just do a throne rush and win the game before any of this raiding really matters. So anyway, Niflheim did jump into that chat and they mentioned that same thing. Like if basically it comes down to this battle, right? If they take this throne, then according to Niflheim, they win. I have no reason to disbelieve them. That's roughly what I was calculating anyway, thinking that, if they did manage to get this other throne, forgetting of course about astral travel and thinking we would be able to have a say in that. But we do not get a say in that throne, but we do get a say in this throne. So let's take a look. Or no, sorry, this is Russ. So yeah, we've talked about this, right? This is our gem bait crew, so they're gonna try to do the same strategy, same plan, but different place, and then they're gonna be joined by just this random raider because sure, why not throw in a little bit of extra stuff. And then we've talked about we've talked about this army doesn't really have a killing component, so the plan is to just try to hide in the fort and just generate too much chaff to turn timer the battle. So for the moment, we're just looking at holding on for dear life, and assuming it works, we're probably gonna have to do this for 2 or 3 turns. We're gonna continue to try to teleport high level death mages in, and that will help provide more killing component, but we're still not really in a good place to actually kill a lot of these Nifl giants. So in the vein of a bunch of stuff, everybody is summoning, right? Everybody that can. We won't be able to give orders to this stuff. So we're just, we're going to have this formation and then just also a pile of stuff in the middle. Fire snakes are going to go jam things up. We're going to make some fire elementals, make a few skeletons, this, that, and the other. We're going to have Army of Lead, probably. Yeah, Army of Lead, I think. Wailing Winds is the other big thing, right? That helps a lot. Right, in terms of trying to turn timer or just prevent the battle from finishing, right? We don't really need to win so much as we just need Niflheim to lose. So in terms of, again, this hasn't really changed too much. In terms of what we're adding to it, I will say that I do think I did not make enough gear sets of, let's see, well, unfortunately we have to leave one of them on this guy so that he can actually cast Will of the Fates, which I think will probably be useful. I don't know. Maybe it would be worth stealing his gear basically to teleport more people in. So, because we have so many mages that are, I've talked a lot about the low astral, but, our mages are either at astral 1, in which case they need both of these astral boosters to actually perform teleport just to move themselves. And even for the guys that are astral 2, they still need this pair of boosters to get to astral 4 to gateway so they can bring units with them. So anyway, it's not like I didn't know that these boosters were important. They are important, I think, for any astral nation, but like this combination especially, I think, is really critical for early age Ermor, if you want to be moving mages around really quickly. And because, it's kind of difficult, the white mages are expensive, and the white mages are really like what you're more interested in. We've talked about how the human mages kind of drop off a cliff a bit, so I did not make enough of, we only have 2 sets of this gear right now. I'm sure I've lost some at some point, so I definitely made more than 2 of these, but yeah, I didn't make enough of these sets, didn't quite realize like how critical they were. So that is something for future games, but in the meantime, so our pretender is going to be gatewaying in. It's not going to be happy times. It's not happy times for Trajanus right now, because, we're not so much about the combat, and we have 28 hit points right now, but we're going to be moving into like not super high enemy dominion, but high enough that for a pretender with 28 hit points, we're not going to have, we're going to be like roughly human HP, which is not a good place to be, but it is what it is. And the main thing that our pretender is going to be doing for us is a little unusual. We also unfortunately don't have much in the way of troops, just a bit more equite, some random devil, and the vine ogres are going to guard our pretender. So we're actually going to put up Storm, which is kind of an odd one to be casting when, we've seen like Niflheim is bringing, the Queen of Clouds. And I think Niflheim, definitely there have been storms cast in some other battles, although it might have been Russ casting that. But anyway, the main reason that we're casting Storm is we do not want Niflheim to use mass flight to be able to get around all of our garbage. So it's less that we have a particular use for the storm and more that we just want to stop any mass flight. That said, we will, summon storm power, somewhere in here, and eventually, hopefully, get fog warriors off, because sure, we don't have a lot of air mages, so that's another thing that our pretender can do. But the main thing is storm, and then units wise, he's not really bringing that much, and probably not going to generate all that much chaff either. I think the other fellow that is teleporting, right, we're stripping some stuff off the other throne because it's looking, right, I was thinking that this force in Niflheim proper was, potentially going to go south, but also potentially going to come at this throne. Now it's kind of looking like, Niflheim is not even going to bother because, why would they bother, right? This is the best defended throne, so why would they go after that? So anyway, we're going to strip a good amount of the defenses here and stuff that we think maybe will be useful. So we're going to bring some of our long dead horse, as well as our trolls. We could bring more just in terms of raw numbers, but right, there's already a morale penalty because this augur is not great. This is, again, the 1 turn crack is a big deal because if we could gateway in and then redistribute the troops to other people already in the fort, I would feel more comfortable bringing more stuff, maybe the dust walkers, maybe the yetis. I don't want to completely reduce. We want to leave some defenders here because at the end of the day, Niflheim has astral travel, so I'll go take a look at the range, but they can be a lot of places very quickly, including this location. So anyway, don't want to completely strip this fort, and these units are going to have to fight under this augur's command, and they don't love that. And so if we'd managed to hold up the walls one more turn, which of course we haven't, and this is a pretty awful fort because it was built by Russ and they just don't get great forts. Not to mention that we don't really have much, most of this is undisciplined or mindless, which does not add hardly any siege defense, and then we've just been forced there because of wipes and this, that, and the other. So all this to say that while normally it's better that you gateway units in and then get to redistribute them, we don't have that luxury right now, so he's going to gateway in. He's probably going to make skeletons or something like that. What is he planning on doing? Sorry, that was the destination. He's just going to throw out some soul slays because, sure, he's got a bunch of astral gear on him because he has to have it. because he's going to be gatewaying. So he's going to have the best shot at soul slaying some people. We've given him a little bit of penetration gear, but like, yeah, I don't have super high hopes for that. Still, this is hopefully enough stuff that, we'll be able to time the battle out, or, Niflheim will retreat due to wailing winds. In terms of long-term success, we are, moving this fellow up. So we're going to need more guys like this, which we're not really doing because most of our gems are going into combat this turn. But we will make some more thugs like this, and we're probably going to try to lean harder on the Augur Elders, right, who can get us those nasty evocations. Mostly Banefire, I'm thinking, are probably the most likely candidate to kill those Nifl giants, because they resist everything. They have a ton of hit points. They regenerate. Banefire isn't very accurate, but when you're shooting at 40 or 50 giants, each of whom take up a square, it's you're probably going to hit a giant. So is it a great plan? Not really. Will it work? Maybe. Is it what we have? Yes. So that's sort of the medium-ish long-term plan for actually defeating this stack. Otherwise, the war's actually going pretty well. Again, I think because Niflheim is gambling on just winning it all right now, which, it's absolutely a viable strategy. So, in terms of raiding, we're going to raid out with all these groups. I think we're going to leave somebody behind because we don't really actually care too much about this fort, but we would like to try to leave it connected. The Golem we are actually going to try to use to kill the raider. Maybe should be committing this to the throne fight. It does feel a little weird to not commit everything. On the other hand, I just don't really think he's going to be that much value add, right? He's not going to soul slay his way through the entire army. Will he reduce it a little bit? Maybe, but I just think his time is going to be better spent. He's going to be try to go after this Jotun werewolf. Because, assuming we do manage to win this battle, the more pressure that we can put on Niflheim, the better. The other thing, too, and actually maybe this turn is already rolled, so can't make any changes. And, yeah, these raiders couldn't have stopped anything anyway. I realized Niflheim doesn't actually have, any retreat routes currently other than this province. So in that sense, could work out for us, really, really well, assuming our Golem, manages to kill this guy and, Niflheim doesn't magic phase something else in to open up their retreat routes, which I'm expecting they will, but our raiders wouldn't be able to stop, whatever that is. In fact, we'll probably get to see some of our raiders die to a magic phase attack. So yeah, we can, we'll be able to prove that. And then otherwise, so, raiding in some places where we think it'll work, we're actually going to hold out with a good amount of stuff here, and we PD dumped quite a bit of barbarians because we're thinking maybe we could kill, a Scrotty. It looks like there's 2, so not super hopeful, but they don't have that much protection. So barbarians can actually be kind of scary to thugs, that don't have great protection. We're also leaving, I think, our cavalry and some of our infantry. So hopefully all these things combined will, be able to kill a Scrotty or maybe 2. In terms of Niflheim proper, doing a little bit of raiding, but also trying to be cautious, not raiding with this group. We're raiding up with this larger group here into these villains, and assuming not too many of our raiders get destroyed, we'll actually probably try to combine a bunch of raiding groups to jump on top of Micklin, just because it's more valuable. There doesn't seem to be too much here, but do kind of this fort also looks like it's basically empty, but is it really, or is this a trap? I don't know. Niflheim is a good player. They're also fighting a lot of different people, so either they've set up some traps for us to make it look like this is very inviting, or they're actually getting pressed pretty hard. So we'll see. Of course, none of this is going to matter if we lose that throne battle. So fingers crossed on that guy. So anyway, yeah, lots of raiding, and then this army is just going to try to run back to the throne in a very embarrassed fashion. So yeah, I think that more or less covers it. We have fairly limited recruitment. Again, trying to do mage recruitment, troop recruitment down here to try to cover this throne, and probably going to collect that up, to send it the other throne eventually, assuming it goes that way. Mage-wise, probably still pretty limited. Yeah, we don't have a ton of, there's an Augur Elder. So, Augur Elders here and there, like I said, we're probably going to try to lean on them more just because, again, the giants just have too much fire resistance for the augurs to really be able to do much. The other big thing that the augurs could potentially do is astral fires, but that is a magic resistance negates. So, and the giants actually have decent magic resistance, right? Full magic resistance on the bless. Not to mention that spell gets better and scales the higher level you are, which means that the augurs really want to be in like a large communion. Like that's really where that spell is going to shine. But of course, if we create a large augur communion, they're just going to get nuked. So it seems to be like for the late game, I was kind of confused before as to whether to recruit more augurs or augur elders. And I would say that probably start with more augurs, and then as the game progresses, more and more augur elders. Because while yes, both of them are just going to die in droves, the augur elders are overall going to be more useful in battle. Although I do think that the augurs are pretty useful throughout the game in a rating standpoint. So yeah, the augurs definitely still have value, but I think on the balance, at least in this moment, especially if you're going up against something really tough like Nephil Giants, it seems like, augur elders are kind of going to be what you need to get those kills. You just have to figure out how to actually get them into a battle without immediately getting killed, and then also make sure they don't just die to some wipe on turn 1. So yeah, still all the challenges of a human mage, but if you're going to be recruiting, one of those 2 human mages in the late game, it seems to me skew more towards the augur elders. And then yeah, we're just trying to get our corpseman construction going, so making some items for that. We'll see if any of that is relevant. And in terms of what other people are doing, I don't think, Kalem, I don't think is really up to too much. Like I said, I think Xibalba's their spirit has been broken. And then Theridos is still doing stuff with their Tartarians, and Niflheim has definitely mentioned that, they're getting pressured, but like I said, Theridos is also, the players kind of looking to bow out, it looks like. Not sure about Femoria, obviously they're sitting on this throne with a pretty hefty stack, but they have not been astral traveling, right? You can really see the difference between this army, having to, walk its way down. Took quite a long time, Niflheim, just one turn, bam. So yeah, that magic phase movement, super important. But yeah, I think that covers turn 88. May have blown it.